Hey, I'm Jusko from ProbMoney.com, and in this video we are going to look at the American Express Blue Cash Everyday Card versus the American Express Blue Cash Preferred Card. But before we do that, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe to this YouTube channel if you have not already, and if you have already, I thank you for doing so. So for whatever reason, I have never done a video dedicated directly to this question, and this is a common comparison when people are looking at these two American Express cards to try to get greater rewards on grocery store purchases in particular. And so the big question that comes up, I think, with these two cards is, why would I, or when would I, pay the annual fee and get the Blue Cash Preferred Card instead of getting the no annual fee Blue Cash Everyday Card? So let's look at each card individually, and then we will talk about how to decide between the two. We'll start with the Blue Cash Everyday Card. This is the no annual fee card that gives you 3% cash back at U.S. supermarkets on up to $6,000 in yearly purchases at U.S. supermarkets. Beyond that $6,000, you'd get just 1%. You get 2% back on purchases at U.S. gas stations, 2% back at select U.S. department stores, 1% back everywhere else. In terms of defining what some of those things mean, U.S. grocery stores means dedicated grocery stores, your Krogers of the world, versus things like Walmart that wouldn't count, Costco that wouldn't count, Target that wouldn't count, Sam's Club, BJ's, warehouse clubs, all that kind of stuff would not count. So sort of dedicated grocery stores. Now some people have told me that Walmart's neighborhood market stores do count. So if you have one of those, even though it's got Walmart's name, it's sort of a dedicated grocery store. So that is my understanding that those count. But your big Walmart stores are not going to count, and many of those other warehouse clubs, big box stores. So that's kind of how the grocery store category works in terms of U.S. gas stations, standalone gas stations versus gas stations at a supermarket or at some other big box retailer. Select U.S. department stores is going to be things more like Macy's and Saks and JCPenney, that kind of stuff, Kohl's, all those kind of sort of traditional U.S. department stores. Things again like Target, Walmart, etc. are not going to qualify as department stores under that. So again, 3% at U.S. supermarkets, 2% on gas at U.S. gas stations, 2% select department stores, 1% everywhere else. In terms of a bonus on this card, as I make this card, looking at the American Express website, $150 you can earn if you spend at least $1,000 with the card in the first 6 months of having it. You can also earn a bonus on Amazon purchases that you make with the card. You would get 20% back on your Amazon purchases on up to $1,000 in Amazon purchases. So you would max that out at $200 if you spent all the way up to $1,000 at Amazon. Bonus offers change all the time, and American Express in particular is very famous for having multiple bonus offers floating around at the same time. You might even go to their website at different times of the day and see different bonus offers. So that is what I'm seeing as I make this video. All right, now let's look at what that Blue Cash Preferred Card is giving you. $95 annual fee on this card versus the no annual fee on the Blue Cash Everyday Card. So for that $95 annual fee, you are going to get greater rewards. You're going to get 6% back at U.S. supermarkets, again on up to $6,000 in yearly purchases at U.S. supermarkets. You're going to get 3% at U.S. gas stations. You're going to get 3% on transit purchases. So that includes things like Uber and Lyft, public transportation like local trains and buses, parking, tolls, all that kind of stuff. You're going to get 3% on that. You didn't have any of that transit with the Blue Cash Everyday Card. You're going to get 6% back on U.S. streaming services, and this includes pretty much all the major ones out there, including Netflix, your Hulu, YouTube TV, Spotify, Apple TV, Apple Music, all those kind of streaming services. Pretty much all of them are included. So you're going to get 6% back on those. Anything else you purchase with the card, 1% back. As I make this video, the bonus offer that I'm seeing for the Blue Cash Preferred is $300 if you spend at least $1,000 with the card in the first 3 months of having it. All right, so the big difference between these cards is you're going to get more cash back with the Blue Cash Preferred in most cases than you would with the Blue Cash Everyday, but you have to factor in that $95 annual fee and decide if it's worth it. The only way you can decide if it's worth it is to think about how you would spend on either one of these cards. Now, for most people, I believe what this decision is going to come down to is grocery store purchases. How much would you put on either one of these cards in U.S. supermarket purchases over the course of a month and over the course of a year? And you have to remember, this is U.S. supermarket purchases, not things like Walmart, Costco, Target. So if that's where you are going to get your groceries, well then probably neither one of these cards is going to be all that appealing to you. But if your main way to shop is through sort of normal supermarkets, well then that is where these cards make more sense. And then you can think about how much you spend at US supermarkets each week, each year. Now you might wonder why I'm giving sort of short shrift to the other categories on these cards and only focusing on the supermarket purchases, and that is because in terms of the gas and transit categories in particular, there are other cards on the market that have no annual fee where you could get 3% on gas, 3% on transit, not pay an annual fee. And so when I'm comparing these two cards, I would never pay an annual fee to get more on gas and more on transit versus the 2% on gas from the Blue Cash Everyday card. So that is just sort of wiped out of my comparison of these cards. If you are looking for just one card to hold and that gas and transit is more attractive to you than what the Blue Cash Everyday card has, well then maybe that annual fee makes some sense for you. I look at it as I could get that somewhere else on the market, so I'm not going to factor it in. Now, in terms of the streaming services, at 6% on streaming services, that could be something that I would factor into this because you're not going to get that 6% on streaming services elsewhere on the market. You might get enhanced streaming services elsewhere, but 6% is pretty high. And if you are a heavy user of those streaming services, well, then maybe you could think of that as starting to pay for that annual fee or making that annual fee justifiable. So if you're spending, I don't know, $75, $100, $125 a month on streaming services, well then that could pay for a lot of that annual fee right there, and then all the other things you get with the card could make it more worth it. So the streaming services has a little bit of a lure for me, but it is mostly the grocery store category that I think is what is going to interest most people. All right, so if you buy that grocery category is the most important part in the comparison, let's do some math. Let's say you spend about $50 a week on groceries, which is $2,600 per year. With the Blue Cash Everyday card, you would earn $78 off of that $2,600 in purchases. With the Blue Cash Preferred card, you would earn $156 in those purchases. However, you'd have a $95 annual fee, so if you subtracted that from the $156 that you earned, you would end up with a total of $61. So you could think of it as being an effectively $61 reward versus a $78 reward. So in that case, the Blue Cash Everyday card is going to look better. All right, let's look at another example. Let's say you spend $75 per week on average at US supermarkets, or $3,900 per year. With the Blue Cash Everyday and its 3% reward, you would get $117 off of those $3,900 in purchases. So $117 reward. With the Blue Cash Preferred card, you would get twice that. You get $234 in reward, 6% of $3,900. However, if you subtracted the annual fee from that card, it would be $234 minus $95, and the effective reward that you would get on those groceries would be $139. However, even with that annual fee taken away, you can see at that $75 per week average, you are making more with the Blue Cash Preferred overall than you would with the Blue Cash Everyday card. Now, if you're wondering where the sort of break-even point is, where the Blue Cash Preferred card becomes the better deal than the Blue Cash Everyday card, that would be at $61 per week, about, or $3,167 over the course of a year. So if you are spending over that $3,167 per year at US supermarkets, the Blue Cash Preferred would give you more back on your groceries than the Blue Cash Everyday card would, even with that $95 annual fee. And remember that both of these cards give you the enhanced grocery reward on up to $6,000 in US supermarket purchases per year. So the higher you go, the more that Blue Cash Preferred card is going to make sense. At $4,000, at $5,000, at $6,000, you can see that the gap widens between how much you would effectively be getting with the Blue Cash Preferred over the Blue Cash Everyday card. And so for many people, if you do shop mainly at US supermarkets, spending over $60 per week is something that many people are going to do, even if you are someone that lives alone. So that Blue Cash Preferred card could certainly make sense for a lot of people. And if you do use streaming services, that 6% at streaming services, let's say you're kind of right on that line there of the break even between the two cards, maybe that 6% at streaming services is what sort of pushes you over into the Blue Cash Preferred. I have the Blue Cash Preferred myself and have talked about it favorably in other videos. I have multiple people in my household, so we pretty much blow through that $6,000 in yearly supermarket purchases without too much trouble. Now, we do some shopping at Costco, some shopping at Target, including some grocery shopping. We just use other credit cards when we are there, but those are not the main places. We do have a local supermarket that is very close to us, and so it makes sense for us. You would have to decide if it makes sense for you based on the shopping that you are doing. So that's pretty much it in terms of making your decision, but there is one other thing I wanted to mention here, and that is the fact that when I've talked about the Blue Cash Preferred in other videos, almost invariably somebody says, well, it's not fair to say that the Blue Cash Preferred card gives you 6% back on groceries because it has that $95 annual fee. So you're not really getting 6% back on those groceries because you're paying in order to get the reward. And that is true. You are paying in order to get the card that's going to give you 6% back. However, that's true with any card that you pay an annual fee on. If you are paying to get certain rewards and benefits from a card, then whatever the face value is of those rewards or benefits, you are actually getting a little less than that face value because you paid to get them. So that is just part of the equation with any annual fee card. So you do the calculation of what am I getting after the annual fee. And so that's what we have been doing here. When I talked about that sort of break-even point of $3,167 per year on groceries, I used the 6% that you get on those grocery purchases, but then I took away the $95 annual fee to show you that is the place where the Blue Cash Preferred card would effectively be giving you 3% on your grocery purchases, and then anywhere beyond that $3,167, you would be getting more than 3%. But effectively, you would not be getting 6% because you are paying an annual fee in order to get that. But if you spend toward $4,000, toward $5,000, toward $6,000, well, then you're getting up into the 3.5% to 4% plus that you would effectively be getting on those grocery store purchases with the card even after the annual fee. That's it. Questions, comments, put them in the comments box below. Otherwise, I thank you for watching. And as always, please go to proudmoney.com where we do credit card reviews, we talk personal finance, we talk deals, and all sorts of other fun stuff too. Thanks for watching. Bye.